you're going to get charged with kidnapping.
That's the thing. It's like the worst thing that you could possibly do is maybe offend someone.
Yes, exactly. And here's the thing, I would never go up to someone unless they approach me.
You just call the hotline.
You just call the hotline. It's anonymous.
And then they never know it was you.
No, it's
what happens when you call the hotline? Do they come out?
Questions. You don't stay there. A lot of times they need to pass it on to the police. It can
do some look through it.
Cause a sort of like a due process. So it depends. It depends how viable the tip information is. It depends if they've gotten potentially other tips around this, because we see that.
Okay.
Where it's like you might be calling and think like, oh, I don't know, but it could be their fourth or fifth tip on the same thing.
Do any of these hotlines call you, like A21, to get involved, to like help?
Yes. So
rescue.
Here's the thing is we work with hotlines in the countries that we are in that are like amazing hotlines. So for instance, we don't have our own hotline in the US because the Polaris Project and Nick Mick do amazing job. But we work with them. I don't know if it's necessarily them calling us, but we work together on like, can you see me videos and other things. And so we have like a working relationship.
Okay.
And so we just help to, serve each other in the ways that we can.
Got it.
But then, for instance, in the countries that we do have a hotline in, like, South Africa and Greece and Bulgaria. So in those instances, people can also call to not just report a potential human trafficking situation that they've seen, but also, let's say you're looking at a job opportunity and you're like, I did go through a human trafficking prevention program and I'm not sure that this is legit.
Yeah.
You can call our hotline and we'll help vet it for you. So it's not just to receive calls of potential human trafficking cases. It's also to help people not get there in the first place.
I love that. And that, speaking of the job, like that lover boy
scenario.
Another one is
false jobs.
Yes.
So a lot of people think like, they think of the movie Taken, which amazing movie, and it brought so much awareness to the problem of human trafficking, but actual kidnappings like that are not the majority reason that people get trafficked. It normally looks like a lover boy scenario. False jobs are actually like very, very, very common. And so,
and families.
And families.
Which is your family will just sell you because they need money or something.
Yeah, or they think that they are
doing
setting you up for a good life, but the person who is promising that person's family, like, oh, I'm going to take them to the city and get them a good job, they're lying. It could be an aunt or an uncle. You know what I mean? And so it's very complex. But when you think about the scenarios that a lot of these individuals are in, like they see like just their food floating down the street, it's just like dirt and like it's impoverished, or there's other vulnerability factors. Their mom is sick or their dad is sick. And so they're like, I have to provide. What do I do? So they're willing to take risks that they might not have been. And they also,
and that speaks to the vulnerability of it.
And they also might not be aware of what could potentially be on the other side of it. And so that's why education around false jobs is really, really, really important. And we work with like a lot of different organizations and different NGOs and governmental organizations to bring awareness around like, hey, if you're going to take a job, here are the things to look for. Like, you
make sure it's
legit. 100%. But a lot of these people are they can become so desperate to, feed their kids, provide, et cetera, that they're just looking for a better life.
And then people take advantage. And
it's one of those things where when you think about that, you're like, man, like if I was in their situation, that could so easily happen to me.
It could.
It is literally like, it could so easily happen.
When I was younger, I got attacked.
Wow.
And I could have been taken.
Oh my gosh, wow.
And I fought like crazy.
Wow.
But that was something that affected me to this day. That is why my heart is so invested in helping these women and children who maybe didn't get that opportunity.
Totally.
Or, couldn't fight. I mean, it's just like,
it's heartbreaking.
It is so heartbreaking.
Yeah, it seriously is.
So that's why we're here.
Yes.
We want to raise more awareness.
Yeah.
We really want our customers and whoever is watching to know that you're not doing anything wrong just by being aware. Be aware of your surroundings. Have the hotline in your phone and is there any other
I think
that you can?
I think human trafficking is a very, very complex issue because you're dealing with people. You're dealing with a human who can be manipulated, coerced. Like there's so many layers. And so I think it is important to take the time to actually research it and, go on the A21 website and just learn more about what human trafficking looks like and how it presents itself. And I think education of, just the general population is so key to seeing human trafficking ended in our day and age.
Absolutely.
And it really is being aware of what's going on around you. And having the hotline in your phone, being willing to, make a call and be interrupted in your day. I remember I was in Newport and I was just like grabbing food. I was like on my way to a meeting for work. Yeah. And this woman came up to me and she spoke broken English and she was talking to me about like a domestic abuse scenario that also kind of had like trafficking potential. Yeah. When I was hearing it, I was like, oh, this is very interesting. And so of course, like I called the hotline. I don't know what happened, but it's one of those things where I called my manager. I'm like, I'm going to be late. Yeah. I might not make this meeting, but this is what we do.
I may have just saved a life.
This is what we do. Yeah. And it's like just being available to have a conversation, being available to be interrupted. It's very, very important.
Well, I remember a couple years ago, I was in Morro Bay and there are these two girls and they were very cute, very young with one older gentleman. And it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
We have a natural intuition.
Absolutely. Yeah. So listen to that.
Listen to the intuition. Yeah. And there's nothing, like, you're not going to get in trouble if you're wrong.
No.
About,
Yeah. I think that's like the takeaway is just do it. Just do it. Yeah.
Nike, just do it. Yeah. But really. And so I think that's a really important thing to be aware of. And just recognizing that this doesn't just happen in third world countries. This doesn't just happen in places outside of the U.S. It happens in the U.S. It's very prevalent in the U.S. And it may show itself in different ways, but it's in our backyards. And so when we recognize that our friends and family, our extended, people that we know could be at risk if they're not educated, if they have a level of vulnerability in some area, who's to say that couldn't be exploited?
Exactly.
And with that being said, and even with the impacts of COVID, we've seen that, it's caused so many things, but one of the things is that kids have been online doing school. They're online for way more hours than they ever would have been. They're isolated. Online exploitation is
huge.
It is growing like crazy. And so that's something to be aware of. If you're a parent, we have like parent guides about how to talk to your kids about the risk
on
of
the website.
Trafficking. Yeah. So you can download them. You can have a conversation with your kids because maybe it's not your child that's at risk, but maybe it's their best friend.
Who knows?
So I think just having the conversations and playing your part in spreading awareness to your sphere of influence, whether that's like sharing what A21 is doing on social media. Yes. That's what you found out about A21. Or whether it's having a conversation with your kid or with other parents, or whether you're, a single person and just maybe you have more time to volunteer your time for a local organization, or you have more time to get involved and research and be a part of a walk, etc.
Yeah. Have you noticed a specific demographic or age group of the more vulnerable? Like, is it the children? Is it the women in their teens? Is it high school students? Like, have you noticed one being more?
I think kids in general, when you're younger, you're more impressionable. You don't fully know who you are yet. You're learning, you're growing. You're literally not an adult yet. Like, your brain hasn't fully formed.
You're easily manipulated.
Yeah. And you're more trusting. That's why your parents are like, if there's candy, like, don't take it. Because you're just more trusting. You have more of like rose-colored glasses to the world. That's like anyone as normally as a child. And so I think everyone, if there's a vulnerability factor, like, there's a risk. But I would say that children in general are more vulnerable to manipulation or more vulnerable to coercion, just because they're learning and growing and figuring out what boundaries are and,
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So what can we do with survivors once they've been rescued? How can we help them to stay on that path?
Yeah, so I think it's finding an organization like A21 to support, because realistically, the people who are working with survivors are like trained social workers. You know, they're people who are...
And it's a sensitive
of course.
area.
It's very private. A lot of times the survivors could be at risk to be re-trafficked. Their trafficker might be trying to hunt them down. Like that is a very, very viable thing. And so what I would say, I know a lot of people want to like work with them one-on-one, but unless you have that training, unless you're a social worker and you're applying for a job to work for like, it's a human trafficking nonprofit. Yeah. It's
that was like one of the first things I asked you when I met you. I was like, okay, how can I do more? What can I do? Who can I talk to? Yeah. And you're like, you can't do any of that. We'll do it.
You can support us. But it's one of those things, and it's from such a great place, and people just want to help and like love on people. But really the best way to do that is support the organizations who are doing the work.
Okay.
And because then we can create more freedom centers. We can expand our hotlines. We can even provide greater services by being able to hire more social workers. You know, there's so many things that like, through awareness, raising awareness, and then like actually like giving and getting involved, you don't realize how much that is impacting the survivor on the other side.
I love that.
And so
that's what we're here
exactly.
for.
And every once in a while, this is fun. Every once in a while, and we're starting to do this a little bit more, but we'll put out like a survivor wish list, like Amazon type thing, where it's like around Christmas or different things.
Fabulous. I actually think I did that last year. Was it Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving or Christmas. I don't remember, but yeah. And so
I'll be sure to add a link so that our customers can
see that and be a part.
Yes.
Yeah, so whenever we get that from the aftercare team, we of course share that out because we want to get them the things they want.
Absolutely.
Like, we want to get them top of the line, all the things. And so I think that's a really tangible
especially after what they've been through.
Yeah, they deserve
what do you
to
want?
have the
You
best.
can have anything.
Yeah, totally.
Oh my gosh.
And so I think like that's a fun thing that happens periodically. But realistically, the best way is just to like support either like A21 or another local organization who you know is doing great work. You can like get behind them. You can raise awareness, you know, be a part of the walk, be a part of talking to your sphere of influence, post on social media. But those really are the like best, most tangible ways.
That's the best. I love that. Thank you. And so with the donations that are funded through A21, can you share a little bit about what percentage is used to actually do the work versus what
like
percentage?
Project versus admin fundraising.
Absolutely.
Yeah, totally. So it's over 70% goes to the field, goes to the work on the ground, all of that. 30%, like I said.
70%!
Let's go! Because like I said, our organization, we have more I think actually the stats are that we have more volunteers than we have people on staff.
Yeah. Which is how it should be when you're doing a volunteer effort.
Exactly. And so that's how we make it possible. And these volunteers are amazing. Whether they're volunteering to host a walk or they're volunteering in one of our offices and they've gone through that whole application process and are giving like a large majority of their time for a few months, like that's how it's possible. And so we of course
how can people get involved in volunteering their time?
So you can go on a21.org and you can click volunteer, and if you have like a certain percentage of your time to give, it needs to normally be like 15 hours or more.
15 hours or more a week. Okay.
That's normally what it needs to be. I know that's what it is for the like USA teams.
Okay.
But with that, you can apply. Just apply. It's like anything else. You just apply.
Perfect.
If like you seem to be a good fit, you'll get interviewed. And then from there, we do like intakes. Like we have our spring intake, our summer intake, our fall intake.
Okay.
And obviously with COVID and things like that, it's been a little bit more tricky in terms of, is it like mostly Zoom based, or, we're working it out. But if you're interested, go apply online. You'll get all the details there.
I love it. Well, thank you. We're going to wrap this up. Yes. It's been such a good little combo. You guys have learned a lot too.
Yeah.
And I am just inspired to go out and do more. October 16th is the Walk for Freedom.
Yes, it is.
And we're ready. I mean, we're doing it.
We're ready to do it. We have an Orange County walk. If you're in Orange County, you can go sign up, be a part. We'd love to see you there. It's going to be such an awesome time, and we're just excited you're along for the journey with us.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Emily. Thank you, A21, and happy birthday, Christine. Today is Christine's birthday. And thank you all for watching. I hope it was very informative. And Save those numbers.
Save those numbers.
Those numbers.
Put it in your phone.
Alrighty, bye.